Hi, everyone. This is Tanya from Unit of Counseling. I had a request to cover suicidal ideation and thoughts surrounding suicidality. so, number one, and first and foremost, before I go into anything, I want to say that if you're having thoughts of suicide, please call 988, and that is your suicide and crisis lifeline. And so please don't hesitate. There's people on that line 24 hours a day to assist you in any of your needs. So this tends to be a really huge issue with truckers and people who live isolated lifestyles. Truckers are on the road a lot. So are pilots, so are railroad workers, so are safety sensitive workers, so are people who work out in the oil fields. So anybody who's in a job where there's a lot of isolation, this can be a real issue, right? And we need to address this because a lot of the people that I deal with are isolated and they have these issues. So we really need to address it. I think it's very important to have a forum where we can really discuss these things openly and not have such a stigma around the topic, right? We need to make this something that we can talk about, ask questions about. So I encourage you, if there are other videos that you would like for me to do, I definitely am so happy to do them for you. So just go ahead and leave some, topics that you have in mind in the comment section, and I'd love to cover them for you. I know that mental health can be a very costly thing, and if I can help you in any way, I would love to. So let's take a look. I've got some notes here. Let's take a look about what can be done. Actually, let me go back to the beginning. So what just says, why suicide may come up for FMCA, CSA workers, federally mandated workers, or anybody for that matter. And one of the big things is isolation and loneliness, right? There's a lot of hours on the road where, truckers are by themselves. The same thing with railroad workers, I talked about the other kinds of workers earlier. Anytime you're isolated, that's can be a big red flag. High stress levels when the job has a lot of deadlines, a lot of pressure to deliver, that can really affect somebody's mental state, especially if they have health challenges on top of everything else, and the need to meet deadlines and the isolation. The person may have issues with health and being able to move around. Maybe they're not as mobile as they once were. Maybe it's hard for them to go to work with all the pain that they're in. Excuse me. Maybe there's chronic pain involved. There could be cancer. There could be other issues involving, there could be other issues that the client is going through that makes it, extra difficult to work and go to work. Another thing is financial pressures, right? When the work isn't cutting it and not being able to meet financial costs, like home, bills, food, things that people have to pay for their kids, like school events, things like that. Mental health stigma. Many truckers avoid discussing any of these issues because, just get real about this, right? Men aren't really taught to be in their feels and express your feelings. It's kind of a thing with men. Growing up, it's not your fault. It's a thing that men are taught. Be tough, suck it up. You're a man. This is what you're supposed to do, and that isn't true. We know now that that's very toxic. That is not the right thing to teach men at all. Traumatic experiences. So let's say somebody experienced maybe sexual abuse in their childhood, or they were abused physically by their parents, or their parents were drug addicts, or their parents were alcoholics. The child can grow up feeling very traumatized and a lot of their needs not being met, and then that extends into adulthood. So how to spot signs that somebody is in danger or that you're in danger. Emotional signs. There's persistent sadness, hopelessness, irritability, feeling trapped or like a burden to others, increased use of substances like alcohol or drugs. And, a lot of times, even too, a person can be in drug addiction or substance abuse addiction, and also that could trigger suicidality, right? Um, it is one of the main reasons, because the body, when somebody is addicted, you've got, somebody's levels of dopamine and serotonin and all of that are all just screwed up. So, um, especially with things like opiates, they wreak havoc on the body. Behavioral signs, withdrawing from loved ones or social activities, giving away personal belongings to people, like, I'm not going to need this anymore. It's like a practically new video system that they have. Decline in work performance or increased absenteeism, like they just don't really give a damn about anything anymore. Reckless driving or risk-taking behaviors, because F it, I'm not going to be here long anyway. Physical signs, chronic fatigue or physical complaints without a clear cause. Changes in appetite or weight. You'll see a discrepancy in the way that they're eating. It's abnormal. Neglecting personal hygiene. You'll see somebody who, used to be clean and caring about the way they look. All of a sudden, they don't care. They look disheveled and maybe wearing the same clothes over and over, not even taking a shower or anything like that. Verbal cues. The verbal cues that somebody might give you would be statements like, I can't do this anymore. I'm just tired. I just want it all to stop. Or I'm just thinking about ending it all. What can you do about it? Well, you can reach out for help and contact a mental health professional, right? 988 is what we talked about earlier. And, if you have a EAP system at your job, maybe you can talk to a counselor for a given amount of free sessions as well, free counseling sessions. Talk to someone you trust, a confidant, maybe a pastor or a friend. People can't help you if they don't know what's going on, right? And, I just want to tell you something as a therapist, is that the devastation that is left behind by people who commit suicide is unlike anything I've ever seen. I've had, parents go into deep addiction because they can't forgive themselves because their child killed themselves. And so the devastation that happens after someone dies is, I think, if a lot of times, if we knew this information beforehand, maybe it could deter a lot of people from taking that step and doing that. Somebody really has to be in a miserable, horrible place for them to even consider suicide. And we want to be very gentle about it, because somebody cannot be in that state unless they feel like nobody can understand them. Family members and friends will take that on like it's their fault, and it's nobody's fault. Ultimately, we have to speak up when things aren't going right for us. We can't expect people to read our minds. We can't expect to be perfect and read other people's minds or we cannot be in their business 24/7. So I can see, when clients come to me, there's a lot of forgiveness on the parts of the parents, forgiving themselves, forgiving their child, and it's just a big mess. So, if you are thinking or have thoughts, please, of suicidality, the best thing to do is reach out for help. And I want you to really think about this, right? About the devastation that lingers on. And I have not met one family where it hasn't lingered on for years and years. 10 years later, it's still just as bad as it was in the beginning. Some people can never forgive themselves. And family members that are left behind have drank themselves to death. So there's not a whole lot of research on suicide, the suicide aftermath, right? We just know that it's devastating. So we need to be able to talk about this subject matter and to take it seriously. Bring it out in the open. Let's discuss it. And let's have compassion for everybody. No judgment and compassion. Talk to someone you trust. Practice self-care. Prioritize regular breaks, healthy eating, incorporate physical activities, limit stressors, set realistic schedules, and have a safety plan. Identify trusted contacts to call during moments of crisis and keep reminders of reasons to live, such as family, photos, or motivational notes in your truck. And some of the stuff that we're talking about too, right? About the devastation that happens after someone passes. Do we really want to leave our family members in that kind of turmoil for the rest of their lives? Because even though you want to tell yourself that you couldn't have done anything, you know how it is to be a parent or a spouse. It's a very, very difficult thing to not do, especially knowing that you couldn't help your loved one. This issue, like we're talking about, like, how serious is this issue? I mean, it's as serious as it gets, as serious as it gets. And what triggers suicidal thoughts? Chronic isolation, major life events, work stress, mental health disorders, substance use. So anything like death, a divorce, losing your job, losing a high-level job, losing a good-paying job, chronic isolation, when you're addicted, all of those things can cause a person to want to commit suicide or have suicidal ideation. So we want to be able to raise awareness about all of this and support your, be around people who can support your well-being. Reach out to all the resources that you have at work. There's a lot of resources on the internet as well. And if you have any questions, we'll be more than happy to answer all your questions or give you more resources for suicidal ideation and suicidality. We can give you as much information as we possibly can. This is a great resource, this channel as well. And I wish anybody who's going through this a lot of love and compassion. And I hope that this place, this channel, can be a refuge for you so that you can see that you're not alone. And, maybe other people will comment and talk about how they overcame their thoughts of suicidal ideation so that you guys can help each other, right? Because there's nothing like one person that's in trucking or in the same business to really understand another. And just know that is it normal to have suicidal ideation? Absolutely. It's normal for everybody to have thoughts of suicide. But it's another thing to have a plan, right? When somebody has a plan, that means they're serious. And we know that when people have a suicide plan, they're more likely to follow it through. So we want to keep the lines of communication open with our loved ones. We want to be truthful. Look, the hardest thing that we'll ever have to do is ask for help. Asking for help isn't weak. The easy thing to do and the weakest thing to do is not ask for help, because then you don't have to face anything. The strongest thing you can do is ask for help, because then you have to face all your skeletons in the closet and all your fears. Now that's brave. Why do people lie? Because if they told the truth, then everybody would look at them and start asking a bunch of questions. What's easier, lying or telling the truth? So you're actually strong as hell for asking for help, for being truthful. You want to show people how strong you are and what a leader you are to your family? Be vulnerable. Vulnerability is a sign of strength. It's not weakness. It's not what they've been teaching us in the past, That's what we've learned in the past. And guess what? We learned wrong. It's toxic. People didn't know any better. They said man up and, be a man, suck it up, handle it like a man, because they didn't know any better. But you know better now. So when we know better, we do better. And I want you to know that we're here for your support. We want to build a community of support and of resources. Know that you're not alone. Know that there are many people who care about you. Know that your life has meaning on this planet. know that you wouldn't be here if it wasn't for a reason. It may not feel like it, but I guarantee you, on the other side of extreme sadness, all extreme sadness means is it something just as good as the amount and intensity of distress that you're under. That's the amount of intensity of goodness and of happiness that lies just on the other side when you get all over this. Because usually the lower you go, you're being propelled into the opposite side of the spectrum. So if you're super sad, it's because a super high is coming. What awaits you if you can just get through this? What actually awaits you? Probably something pretty magnificent if you would just stick around. Thank you for joining today, and you matter. You matter a whole bunch. We want you to know that the world couldn't be what it is without you. That is how important you are. You matter, and we need you here. All of those thoughts that you're hearing in your head, they're not true. It's trauma from your past. You just need to heal that. That's all that is saying. It's time to heal so that you can get everything that you deserve. Don't give up. Never give up. We care about you, and we need you here. Talk to you soon.